shall again discern between the righteous and the wicked, between one who serves God and one who does not serve him. Campaign of Israel at the Temple of Solomon.
I never really got any attention from my mom. She never did anything with us. There was no advice. There was no guidance. She never gave us any direction on what we should do or shouldn't do. And when we did something wrong, she would just say she was disappointed, and that was it. Growing up, that lack of attention, that lack of love, that lack of care kind of made me desperate for attention. So I started doing things to get attention, and I liked it. I liked the adrenaline that it gave me. I started to cut myself. I'd cut my arms. I would give myself a black eye. I would write myself death letters and put them in my locker and pretend that somebody else was giving me those letters. I started my grandpa's house on fire. I wanted to see that the firefighters would come. I would start my parents' storage buildings on fire, and I did that about 4 times. And I took that same thing for attention into my marriage. There was one time that we did get in a physical fight. He gave me a black eye, I had a concussion, and I went to work the next day like that. And I liked the attention that it got me. So I continued with that. I continued even when he wasn't doing it. I continued to make people think that he was. So I would cut my neck, I would cut my forehead, I would draw on myself black and blue bruises on my face, on my arms, to make them think that he was beating me.
Melanie was always looking for attention to fill the void she had inside, but her problem was only getting worse, to the point where her family began to suffer as well.
I mean, I didn't want to come home from work because there was always fights in my house every single night. There was so much stress with my son being sick, my youngest son. Between me and my husband, our relationship wasn't good. My oldest son, he started giving us trouble. He started talking back. He started arguing with us. We got in a lot of physical fights. There was times that he would grab me by my neck and shove me up against the wall. There was a time that he jumped on top of my car so that I couldn't leave, and I was also angry, so I would step on the gas and then step on the brakes so that he would go flying off of the car. I said a lot of mean things to him. I told him I hated him. I told him he should die. I told him to go kill himself. I told him I didn't care what happened to him.
We had many cases of domestic violence. Our arguments would get very aggressive, very quickly, very fast. And we would hit each other, we would throw each other to the ground, we would pin each other to the wall. I remember many times my mom had grabbed me by chokeholds. I remember that the hate that I had for my parents wasn't just in my thoughts, wasn't just in my heart. It came to the point that I would write it down, that I would write down the thoughts that I had to kill each and every single one of my family members. The thoughts that I had to kill my mom, the thoughts that I had to kill my dad, to kill my brother.
Melanie's life was destroyed, and with all that she was going through, she had no peace. Her family was invited to come to the Universal Church and knew that this was a way out of her suffering.
So my husband was over the phone one day. He was talking to his sister, and she told him that she had heard of a church, and he asked for the name, and he looked it up online. And he found that there was one church in our state, but that it was an hour and a half from where we lived. We came on Fridays. We did the chain of prayers of deliverance. I remember that a lot of times I would come in desperation, crying, just in so much frustration.
It wasn't too long after when the Campaign of Israel was underway. She saw the campaign as an opportunity to change her life. Not only did she make a financial sacrifice, but she made a spiritual sacrifice as well. Afterwards, she was able to see the results of her sacrifice.
The Campaign for Israel came, and I remember that sacrifice was everything for everything. So in there, I wrote about my family, I wrote about me, I wrote about how I wanted my family, my son, to be transformed. I wanted the Holy Spirit. The pastor's wife talked to me all the time about the Holy Spirit, that the Holy Spirit was the one that would give me strength. I had taken some money that I had saved for emergencies. Later, my husband found out that I had taken that money that I had saved for emergencies and put it on the altar, and he was very upset because that was what we had. I would seek the Holy Spirit in my house. I would pray in the morning before I went to work. I would pray in the bathroom when I was at work.
After taking part in the campaign of Israel, a difference was made in her life.
Today, me and my son, we don't argue anymore. We don't fight. Today, when I talk to him, it's like I'm talking to my best friend. We share the same faith, so we're always talking about the blessings that God's done in our lives. And he's just somebody completely different. He's a very strong young man of God.
I get along with my family. I get along with my parents. I have no hate against my family. I have no wishes nor desires to kill my mom, my dad, nor my brother, nor anybody. But I can say that God has transformed me. I can say that God has changed me inside, and he has changed every single area of my life.
After I received the Holy Spirit, I had a strength in me that I never had before. Or I had peace, I was happy. My reaction in my marriage when my husband would get upset or there was conflict was different. I became somebody more calm. I didn't justify myself the way I justified myself before I received the Holy Spirit. If I could tell people today who are suffering, who are passing through what I would pass through or something similar, I would tell them there's a solution for you. It doesn't matter what you're going through.
And now my mom can say, I can say, my family and I can say that God has made a difference in our lives.
God can make the same difference in your life today. Campaign of Israel at the Temple of Solomon.